The cathedral was big and shiny. It smelled like money and hope. Bright stained glass made the floor glow in red and gold colors. White orchids hung everywhere, and candles flickered, making the marble floor shine. Hundreds of phones were up, ready to take pictures of a wedding that should never happen. Alara Vesper stood with her father at the grand doors. She wore a beautiful ivory silk dress sewn by hand. It looked perfect, like a dream. But the dream was fake, because under the dress, hidden by tight cloth and hard corset bones, she carried a secret. Inside her were 3 little babies, their hearts beating. At first, she had been scared of them, but now they gave her courage. Her father leaned in and whispered, "Ready?" Alara nodded, but her throat was dry. The music began. The big doors opened and everyone stood up. 300 guests filled the church. They wore glittering dresses, shiny cufflinks, diamonds, and fancy suits. Rich business people sat in the pews. Her mother wiped her eyes with a tissue. Bridesmaids turned their heads, but Alara only saw one person, Lysander Dubra. Lysander, tall and strong, stood in a black tuxedo. His eyes burned as he looked at her. He did not smile. Alara's heart pounded. She took her first step down the long aisle. Each step felt heavy. She felt her babies move inside her under the tight dress. "Not now," she begged inside. "Hold on." She remembered their 5 years together. Public love, secrets, losses. She remembered the day she told him about the pregnancy. His face had turned cold. "Get rid of them, Alara," he had ordered. But she couldn't. She didn't. She hoped he would forgive her one day. The aisle stretched like forever. Her dress swept across the floor like clouds. All eyes watched for her smile, her glow. But Alara wasn't glowing. She was shaking. Finally, she reached the altar. Lysander didn't reach for her hands. He didn't whisper comfort. His lips parted, but only anger came. His voice was like steel. "You're carrying the children I told you to get rid of." Alara froze. Her heart felt like broken glass. "What?" she whispered, shaking. "You lied to me. You think I wouldn't notice? You think I'm blind?" He said. "Lysander, I was going to tell you after. She tried, but her voice cracked. Guests started shifting uncomfortably, not knowing what was happening. Lysander stepped back. His voice was cold. "You betrayed me." "No," she cried. Lysander turned to the priest. "This wedding is over." Then he turned his back and walked away. He didn't run. He didn't shout. But the silence he left was louder than thunder. Gasps filled the cathedral. Phones dropped. Whispers spread like fire. Alara stood frozen. Her veil slipped from her head, her knees bent, and the world tilted. Her father caught her elbow. Her mother ran forward, shouting, "Lysander!" But the doors slammed shut behind him. He was gone. The bride was left abandoned, pregnant, alone. Before she could fall, a strong voice cut through the whispers. "Stop!" Everyone turned. A man rose from the third row, calm, steady, powerful. Kalen Thorne, a billionaire, a media king, a silent owner in Lysander's company. Until now, just another guest. He buttoned his navy suit and walked slowly into the aisle. Every step was confident. His jaw was hard, his eyes impossible to read. He stopped in front of Alara. She looked at him, dizzy and broken. "Why?" she whispered. He touched her cheek, brushed away a tear, and then, not soft, not shy, strong, firm, final. Gasps filled the air. Phones clicked. A bridesmaid screamed. When Kalen pulled back, he pressed his forehead against hers. In a low voice only she could hear, he said, "Marry me. I'll raise your children as mine." The whole cathedral went silent. Alara couldn't speak. Her lips still tingled from his kiss. Everyone was staring. Even her mother, always calm, now had her hand on her chest, shocked. Kalen didn't flinch. He looked into Alara's eyes. "I meant it." Alara blinked. "You don't know me." "I know enough." "You saw what happened," she whispered. "Why would you step in?" He gave a faint smile. "Because I won't watch a woman stand alone while carrying 3 lives she chose to protect." The guests gasped again. "3?" they whispered. The truth was out. Alara felt shame burning her cheeks. So many eyes cut into her. She turned away from Kalen, struggling to stay calm. "This is crazy. I can't think." "Then don't think," Kalen said softly. "Just breathe." and for the first time since Lysander left, Alara let out a shaky breath. Her mother rushed over. Alara, this man is a stranger. You can't just... Her father interrupted. He's not a stranger. That's Kalen Thorne. Her mother's eyes widened. The media mogul? Her father nodded. The man who saved your daughter's dignity in front of everyone. Kalen stayed calm. He turned to Alara. Let's step into the side room. You need water. Alara nodded. They moved to the bridal lounge. It was quiet, with old furniture and stained glass light. Alara sat down, tired, holding her dress. Kalen poured her water and gave it to her without a word. She drank slowly. The babies kicked again. I never wanted it to be like this, she whispered. I believe you, he said. Why would you help me? You didn't even look at me earlier. I was watching, he said. You weren't glowing with joy. You were glowing with courage. I knew something was wrong. That obvious? She asked weakly. Yes, I know the look of someone hiding pain. She stared at him. His calm didn't feel fake. It felt real, like he had faced storms himself and survived. Finally, she asked, What happens now? That depends on you, he said. You asked me to marry you. Yes, that's crazy. Maybe, he admitted. But so was walking down the aisle carrying the children of a man who didn't want them. She flinched. I'm not pressuring you, he added, but I don't make promises I won't keep. Why would you want to? She asked softly. Because I don't walk away from things that matter. Do I matter? You do now. The door opened. Her parents came in with Juno, her best friend. Her father pulled Kalen aside. Her mother sat by Alara. This doesn't have to be the end of your life, her mother whispered. It can be the beginning of something new. I thought I'd be a wife today, Alara said. You still can, her mother smiled, but on your terms. Kalen returned. He stood before her. I'll ask only once. I have a judge downstairs. Give me 1 year. As my wife, I'll protect your children. I'll give you safety. No pressure. If after a year you don't want me, I'll let you go. Alara's mouth fell open. And if I stay, then you stay because you want me, not because you need me. Alara's breath caught. She felt like she was standing at a cliff again, but this time she wasn't alone. Slowly she stood. I'll marry you. The cathedral was mostly empty now. The flowers still hung, the candles still burned, but the crowd was gone. Only her parents, Juno, a few helpers, and Kalen's guards remained. A judge stood ready. Alara walked again down the aisle. No music, no applause, only silence. Her veil trailed behind like a memory. At the altar, Kalen finally touched her hand. His grip was strong and steady. You can still change your mind, he whispered. I won't, she said. I already lost everything once today. I won't let it all be for nothing. You haven't lost anything, he replied softly. You're only beginning. The judge asked, Are you ready? Kalen nodded. We are. No rehearsal, no planner, just truth. Kalen Thorne, the judge said, do you take Alara Vesper as your wife and promise to protect her and her unborn children? I do, Kalen said firmly. Alara Vesper, do you take Kalen Thorne of your own free will to be your husband and protector for 1 year or longer should love grow? Alara looked at Kalen. She didn't know his favorite food, his fears, or how he liked his coffee. But she knew this. He had stepped into the fire for her without blinking. He stood in front of everyone who had laughed at her and judged her. He gave her a choice. She didn't know what the future would bring, but in that moment, she said, I do. Kalen reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring. It wasn't shiny or too big. It was a platinum ring, strong and simple, with little vine shapes carved on it. It looked special. He put it on her finger. I didn't buy this for today, he whispered softly. I had it made months ago. She blinked in surprise. Why? Because when Lysander took you to that big party a year ago, Kalen said, I knew you weren't his forever. Her heart beat faster. You thought this would happen? No, he said. But I hoped one day I'd have the chance to stand where he couldn't. The judge spoke the final words. You may now kiss. Kalen didn't rush. He moved closer slowly, lifted her chin with one finger, and waited for her to look into his eyes. Then he kissed her. It wasn't like before, not for show or to surprise anyone. This kiss was gentle, warm, and full of love. She closed her eyes and leaned into him. For one moment, all the hurt went away. When they pulled apart, Kalen said nothing. He just took her hand and walked her down the aisle. There was no rice thrown, no clapping, only the quiet strength of two people starting a new story after pain and betrayal. The wedding hall was silent. The big cake wasn't touched. The music stopped. The DJ packed up his things. Alara's wedding planner sat in the corner, crying. It was supposed to be a happy night, but now it was a memory she didn't want to remember. But Kalen stayed calm. He walked her through the hall, nodding to the workers, giving gentle instructions. Within 20 minutes, every sign of Lysander was gone. His name was taken off the tables. His photos were removed. Kalen never raised his voice. Then he came back to her side and offered his arm. "You ready to go home?" he asked. "You're home?" she asked softly. He nodded. "For now, yes." She held his arm. "I need my things from my apartment. I already sent someone. Your things are packed and waiting." She blinked again. "You didn't think I'd say yes today?" "No," he said quietly. "But I hoped you would." In the back of his big car, the Maybach, they sat in silence. City lights passed by like stars. Her hands rested gently on her round belly. 3 babies, 3 chances at a new life. She turned to Kalen. "This isn't going to be easy." "I didn't ask for easy," he said. "What if we don't connect?" she asked. "Then I'll still be here," Kalen replied, "and you'll never face a room alone again." Her throat tightened. She looked away quickly, blinking fast. He didn't press her. He just placed his hand over hers and kept it there the whole ride to their new beginning. The mansion stood tall on the cliffs, watching over the Pacific Ocean. It wasn't built to show off. It was built to protect. Black steel gates opened as their car drove in. Kalen's home was not loud or flashy. It was strong, quiet, and beautiful, with stone, glass, and wide open spaces. Alara stepped out of the car slowly, one hand on her belly, the other on Kalen's arm. She didn't speak as they entered the tall doors, walked under the shining light that looked like water, or when they reached the master wing. The suite was bigger than her old apartment. She didn't cry. She didn't break down. She just stood there quietly. Kalen gave her space. "I cleared the guest wing," he said. "But my room is safer. There's also a nurse here and a doctor will visit in the morning." She nodded but said nothing, walking further inside. The bed was huge, with soft white sheets and warm lights. On the bench lay a black robe, slippers, a glass of warm milk, and a tray with pears and almonds. She blinked. "Did you do this?" "I made a few calls," Kalen said. "You don't seem like the type to plan snacks and robes," she said. "I'm not, but I've seen women give birth. I know what's ahead of you. Your body needs care." Alara placed her hand on her belly. "They're heavy now." "They're growing strong," Kalen said, "because you are strong." She breathed out slowly. "Where will you sleep?" He looked into her eyes. "Where do you want me to?" Her throat tightened again. "I don't want to be alone tonight." "You won't be," he promised. She changed in the bathroom, wiping away the makeup and putting on the soft robe. When she came out, Kalen had also changed into gray sweatpants and a simple shirt. He wasn't dressed to impress, just himself. He stood by the window, watching the moonlight. "Do you do this often?" she asked. "Rescue women at the altar," he said dryly. She smiled for the first time that day. "No, I mean, do you often take people in? Offer them shelter?" "Only once," he said. He pointed to the bed. "You sleep. I'll take the couch." But as she lay in bed, the pain of rejection crept back. She turned to him. "Are you sleeping?" she whispered. "No." "Would it be okay if—" He sat up instantly. "Yes." She walked over and climbed into the small couch space beside him. It was cramped, but when his arm wrapped around her and her head rested on his chest, her body finally relaxed. She cried quietly, tears soaking his shirt. He didn't move, didn't speak. He just held her. She woke to the sound of the ocean breeze. Kalen's arms were still around her. He hadn't moved. He was awake, watching her. Did you sleep a little? He asked. She pulled back, embarrassed. Sorry, I didn't mean to. You needed it. Thank you, she whispered. He tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. You're safe now. Why are you being so good to me? She asked. He paused, then said softly, because the world wasn't. Sunlight filled the room. Alara stretched, sore but calm. For the first time, the silence felt peaceful. Kaylin was gone, but soon there was a knock. A tall woman in scrubs entered. She smiled warmly. Good morning, Mrs. Thorne. I'm Willa, your nurse. Mrs. Thorne. The words felt strange, but real. I didn't ask for a nurse, Alara said. Mr. Thorne did, Willa replied gently. He wanted you comfortable before breakfast. Alara followed her to the bathroom. Everything was ready. A new toothbrush, fresh towels, skincare, clean clothes. Someone had thought of everything. When she came out, dressed in a soft maternity dress with a note that read, Comfort first, she found Kaylin in the kitchen. He was barefoot, sleeves rolled up, making eggs. He turned and smiled. You slept, she nodded. He served her eggs, toast, berries, and a smoothie. You cook? She asked. No, I watched a video last night, she laughed. Why would you do that? Because I didn't want your first morning here to start with strangers and cold food. They ate quietly together. Finally, she asked, So what now? That's up to you, Kaylin said. We'll set things up. You'll have your own account, your privacy, your space. Doctors will take care of you. But emotionally, that's yours to decide. I'll be here, close or far, whatever you want. Why are you so good at this? She whispered. I had to learn, he said. When people let me down, I built the things I needed myself. I never thought I'd use them for someone else. There was a knock at the door. Kaylin opened it. 2 couriers gave him a case. What's that? Alara asked. Your things from the bridal suite. I didn't want you to go back there. Inside were her veil, her shoes, and her vows. She stared at them. I'm not mourning him anymore, she whispered. I'm mourning who I thought he was. That grief is real, Kaylin said. Let it be. Later, Willa checked her. Strong heartbeats, the nurse smiled. All 3 babies are healthy. Alara's throat tightened. I don't feel like I'm enough. You don't have to be enough, Willa said. Just show up. That's already more than most. Alara placed her hands on her belly. I'm showing up, she whispered. For you. There was another knock. Kaylin stood there. He came into the room holding 2 glasses of iced tea. Are you okay? He asked kindly. She nodded, then paused. I think I'd like to see the rest of the house. He smiled and showed her rooms she hadn't noticed before. There was an indoor garden full of orchids, a little movie room with soft seats, and a big library with tall windows and leather sofas. She stopped at one door. This one? He hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a nursery. It was empty, not finished yet, but the walls were painted a soft gray that felt calm. On the counter sat a sketch. It showed 3 little cribs in a semicircle with hand-drawn stars above them. She turned to him. You were already planning for them. He shrugged gently. A man can hope. She stepped inside, touched the wall with her fingers, and for the first time since her world had broken apart, she let herself believe again. That evening came quietly. She sat in the library, curled on a wide sofa with a blanket around her legs. The only sound was the ocean far below. The windows showed the sky, painted orange and purple. She hadn't asked where Keelan was, but then, as if he had heard her thoughts, he appeared in the doorway carrying 2 mugs. I thought you might want something warm, he said. She accepted the mug, peppermint tea. No sugar. Exactly how she liked it. Her eyebrows lifted. How did you know? I asked Willa, he said. She told me you liked this during your 3rd month when the nausea was worse. You remember things like that? I pay attention, he said softly. Those 3 words meant more to her than he knew. Her old partner, Lysander, had never remembered details. He forgot dates, appointments, and even cravings. But Kaylin, who had only known her for 2 days, had brought her the tea she could keep down. She sipped slowly. He sat on the other end of the sofa, leaving space, but not too much. Just enough to let her choose. Her voice was quiet. I wasn't going to keep them at first. He didn't flinch. He just waited. I panicked, she whispered. I even made an appointment. Lysander gave me money to make it private, but I couldn't go inside. I stood outside the clinic for 20 minutes, and then I heard a woman crying in the waiting room. She whispered, I didn't want to. I had to. And I knew that if I did it, I would never forget that sound. I'd hear it forever. Kalen nodded. You listen to your instinct. That takes courage. Lysander didn't think so. He thought it was weak. Lysander doesn't understand what sacrifice means, Kalen answered. Tears burned her eyes. She blinked quickly. I lied to everyone, even my parents. You protected yourself, he corrected gently. That's not the same. Silence fell, thick but not heavy. Finally, she asked, What about you? Have you ever been in love? Yes, once, he said quietly. Years ago. What happened? She loved the version of me she saw in newspapers, not the real me. When I came home tired and didn't want to talk, she left. She married someone else, richer, louder, flashier. And you? I built walls, he said simply. She leaned closer, not touching him, but closing the space. Are you scared? Of what? That I might not love you back. He met her eyes calmly. No. Why not? Because love isn't owed, it's earned, and I'm patient. Her throat felt tight. He wasn't asking for anything. He wasn't setting a time. He was just there. You're not what I expected, she whispered. And you're not broken, he said. Those words freed something inside her. She gently rested her head on his shoulder. He didn't move or take advantage. He just sat, steady as a rock. And for the first time in days, her heart slowed to match his. Later at the staircase, he asked, Do you want me to stay on the sofa again? She shook her head. No, I'd like you to sleep in the bed. I sleep better knowing someone's near. He nodded. As you wish. She climbed the stairs first, and he followed quietly. The bed was big enough for space between them, but she didn't stay on her side. In the night, she shifted closer. His hand was already there, open, waiting. She touched it, and sleep came easier than it had in weeks. Not because everything was fixed, but because someone had finally stayed. The morning sun filled the room with soft golden light. She stirred first, then noticed Kalen lying awake beside her. He had been up for hours, but hadn't moved. Good morning, she whispered. Morning, he said softly, setting his phone aside. You slept hard. I needed it, she admitted. For a while, they just lay there, close but not touching. His eyes were gentle, never pushing, never demanding. She asked, Can I ask you something? Anything. Why didn't you ever pursue me before? You were with someone else, he said simply. That didn't stop Lysander from cheating on me. It would have stopped me, Kalen replied. I don't chase what isn't mine to pursue. Her heart skipped. He wasn't possessive. He was principled. You're not like anyone I've ever known, she whispered. That's good, he said, because the people before didn't deserve you. Later that morning, she walked down the stairs barefoot, wearing a soft white dress. Her hair was tied in a simple bun, no makeup, no jewelry. And still, Kalen stared as she walked into the kitchen. He was slicing fruit, but his hand paused. You're staring, she said. I'm thinking, he replied. About what? How a woman carrying 3 babies can still look like a goddess before noon. Her cheeks warmed. She turned toward the fridge. You're smooth, she said. I'm not trying to be, he answered. I'm just telling the truth. She turned back, leaning against the counter. Well, it's working. He stepped a little closer, not rushing. Is it? She held his gaze. You make it hard to remember what pain feels like. His jaw tightened, but he stepped back, letting the moment calm. Eat, he said gently. Then we'll go over some things. After breakfast, they sat in the lounge with a folder on the table. Kalen explained every page. Your name stays on all birth records. You keep full rights. If you choose to leave after 1 year, everything we earn together will be shared fairly. You do that? She asked. You gave me your name at the altar, he said. The least I can do is protect you. And the house? She asked. If you leave, it's yours. Her eyes widened. You're giving me this house? No, he corrected. I'm offering it. What you do with it will always be your choice. She put the folder down. This doesn't feel like marriage. It feels like a rescue mission. That's because, Kaylin said softly, you've never had someone love you without trying to own you. The words hit her heart like a wave. She didn't argue. That evening, she wandered into the library again, this time barefoot in a silk robe. She traced her fingers along the spine of a poetry book. Kaylin appeared with 2 glasses. One was wine for him, one was safe juice for her. Do you read poetry? She asked. Not really. Then why build a library? In case someone who does needs it. She smiled. You're always one step ahead. I just don't like watching people lonely, he replied. You think I'm lonely? I think you've forgotten how to trust peace. Later, she stood at the window in her robe, looking at the dark ocean. Kaylin walked in after his shower, wearing simple clothes. He stopped when he saw her. She turned, eyes steady. I've been trying to remember what it feels like to be safe. Kaylin nodded. Then let me remind you. She stepped closer. He touched her face gently, brushed her hair back, and whispered, You're safe. Always. Kaylin held Alara close. He whispered in her ear, You are safe. You are wanted. She felt warm inside, not scared. She held him tightly, and for the first time in her life, she did not feel broken. She felt like she was making her own choice. When the night ended, Kaylin stayed by her side. He didn't leave. Their hearts beat together. He carried her to a warm bath, washed her gently, and wrapped her in a towel. He didn't show off or act proud. He only showed care. Then he carried her back to bed. Alara rested against him, her leg over his hip. She was so sleepy. You didn't ask for this, she whispered. Kaylin said softly, I did. From the moment I saw you walk down that aisle, I wanted fate to give me a chance to hold you. She smiled, then fell asleep. Kaylin stayed awake for a while, watching her, protecting her, and loving her in silence. In the morning, sunlight filled the room. Alara stretched. Her body remembered the night before, but it was not painful. It was like a soft song still inside her. Kaylin was lying beside her, awake and watching her. You didn't sleep again? She whispered. I did, he said, but I didn't want to miss this. She smiled and turned to face him. I don't feel broken today. You never were broken, Kaylin said. Then why did I believe it? Because no one ever held you long enough to show you otherwise, he answered. Alara touched his chest. He looked at her in a way that made her feel safe. He wasn't scared of her scars, her past, or even the sadness of losing 3 little boys before they were born. He held her as she was. They got out of bed slowly, showered together, and helped each other wash. It was not about romance, but about love and closeness. Over breakfast, Alara wore one of Kaylin's shirts. He wore gray pants and no shoes. They talked about important things. Her favorite music when she was young, his dream to build a vineyard, how she once wrote poems but never showed anyone. You should write again, Kaylin said. I don't think I remember how. You will remember. You only need peace, he replied. And you think you can give me peace? She asked. I already have, he said with a smile. Just before lunch, Alara's phone rang. The number was unknown. She froze. Kaylin saw her worry and said, You don't have to answer. But she did. The voice on the phone said, Alara, it's Lysander. Her hand shook. I heard you married someone else. Is it true? Are you living with him? He asked. Yes, I am, she said. You made a fool of me, he said angrily. You left me in front of hundreds of people, she snapped. You lied. You didn't want our sons. Alara, come home. You don't know this man, Lysander said. I know enough, she replied. And then she ended the call. Kaylin was standing by the window looking at the sea. Are you okay? He asked. Alara hugged him from behind. He won't stop, she whispered. He doesn't have to, Kaylin said, turning to hold her, because I won't stop either. The storm began the next morning. A headline spread everywhere. Pregnant bride abandoned at the altar, now married to billionaire Kaylin Thorne. Pictures of Alara in her wedding dress were everywhere. Photos of Kaylin kissing her in front of guests. News channels said cruel things. Scorned groom betrayed. Thorne's bride already 6 months pregnant. Whose children are they really? Alara sat on the couch, robe tied tight. Her face was on every screen. She felt small. She felt small. Kaylin turned off the TV. "I'll stop this," he said. "Can you?" she asked. "I've already filed complaints. No one can use your photo without your consent," he said. "Lysander leaked it," she whispered. "Yes," Kaylin answered calmly. "And now we prepare." By noon, a courier came with an envelope. Inside were legal papers. Lysander was suing, saying the babies were his and Alara had lied to hurt him. Alara's hands shook. "He said he didn't want them," she whispered. Kaylin read the papers. "He's not trying to be a father, he's trying to save his pride." "What do we do?" she asked. "We fight back," Kaylin said. Lawyers came. A crisis team arrived. Kaylin's home turned into a war room. Through all of it, he never left her side. That night, Alara cried into her pillow. Her stomach hurt from stress. Kaylin came quietly, put a heating pad on her back, and held her. "You didn't ask for this," she said softly. "No," Kaylin said, "but I chose it." "Why?" she asked. "Because you are not alone anymore." The next morning, Alara met Kaylin's legal team. They were smart and respectful. They treated her as a partner, not a weak person. "We'll block the media from contacting you," one lawyer said, "and we'll ask the court to review Lysander's past behavior." Alara remembered something. "He once texted me saying, 'Those aren't my responsibility unless you want to ruin us both.' I still have it." "That may end his case completely," the lawyer said. Later, Alara sat with Kaylin on the patio. The wind moved her blanket. "Do you think he's doing this to punish me or to claim something?" she asked. "Both," Kaylin replied. "You're not afraid?" "No, men like him only win when women stay silent, and you're not silent anymore," he said. The day of court arrived. Cameras and reporters swarmed the courthouse. People shouted questions. "Alara, did you trap Kaylin? Did Lysander know about the babies?" Security guarded her. Kaylin held her hand. "You don't have to speak," he whispered. "I want to," she said. At the top of the steps, Alara turned to the crowd. Her voice was calm. "I didn't trap anyone. I protected my children. I told no lies. I married a man who honored me when I was at my lowest." The crowd went silent. Inside, Lysander was already seated. He looked smug, but when Kaylin entered, Lysander's jaw tightened. In court, Lysander's lawyer said Alara tricked him. But Alara's lawyer stood strong. "Your Honor, we have text messages where Lysander demanded she end the pregnancy. We also have friends who can prove it." The judge nodded. "Submit them." Later, Lysander spoke. He pretended to be the victim, but Alara's lawyer asked, "Did you not say, if you don't get rid of them, you'll ruin everything we built?" Lysander went silent. The judge frowned. Lysander admitted, "Yes, I said it in anger, and yes, I left her at the altar." Outside, the crowd was calmer. Headlines shifted. Court papers show Lysander denied babies. Public supports Alara. Alara sat in the car, breathless. Kaylin said, "You did well." "I wasn't scared this time," she said. "You were never weak," Kaylin replied. At home, Alara read online posts. One person wrote, "She went from altar tragedy to courtroom queen." Kaylin chuckled. "They're not wrong. Lysander tried again to attack her name in the news, but people didn't believe him anymore." Alara's speech was everywhere. Kaylin's team asked for a restraining order. More guards were placed around the house, cameras, patrols, everything to protect her. "I didn't expect a war like this," Alara whispered. "You didn't start it," Kaylin said, "but you're ending it." By the end of the week, the judge denied Lysander's request. "A man who runs from responsibility cannot later demand it," the judge said. On the courthouse steps, Alara didn't need to speak this time. The crowd clapped for her. Finally, the house was quiet again. No cameras outside, no lawyers calling, no stress, only peace. Alara sat on a chair, wearing Kaylin's hoodie, holding a pillow under her belly. One of the babies kicked. Kaylin walked into the room with a warm mug in his hand. Steam rose from it. "Refill?" he asked gently with a small smile. Alara nodded. tired but grateful. Please, she gave him her mug, and he passed her the new one before sitting on the couch across from her. He looked at her quietly. What? Alara asked, raising an eyebrow. You look peaceful, Kalen said softly. I can feel it. Alara was quiet for a moment, then whispered, I didn't think I would ever feel peace again. Kalen leaned back, resting his arm across the top of the sofa. You carried all of this alone for such a long time, he said. Alara nodded. It felt like I was dragging myself through mud every single day. Why didn't you tell anyone? Kalen asked gently. I thought if I admitted how scared I was, I would fall apart, she said. Then she looked at him. But now I see I wasn't weak. I was just overwhelmed. Kalen nodded slowly. I never thought of you as weak. Never. You were always unbreakable to me. Alara gave a small smile. You always know the right thing to say. No, he replied. I only say the truth. Later, they sat together on the balcony overlooking the tall cliffs. The sun was setting, painting the sky and the ocean in colors of copper and violet. Alara rested her head on Kalen's shoulder. One of his hands rested on her knee, and with the other, he held a glass of water that he kept offering her in little sips. You keep treating me like I'm made of glass, she teased. I'm treating you like you matter, Kalen said. Do I? She asked, looking up at him. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he kissed the top of her head, then her temple, and whispered against her skin, more than anything. That night, Alara walked quietly into the nursery. 3 cribs stood ready. Soft curtains hung by the windows. On the wall was a mural of stars and clouds painted in watercolor, soft and calming. Kalen had prepared everything. Alara touched the railing of one crib, her heart full of heavy thoughts. 3 babies were coming, 3 boys, 3 lives she hadn't expected. But now they meant everything to her. Kalen entered behind her. Do you like it? He asked carefully. It's perfect, Alara whispered. Are you scared? He asked. Terrified, she admitted, not just of giving birth, but of what comes after. I'll be there, he said softly, every step of the way. I know, Alara said, tears filling her eyes, and that's why it's starting to feel real. That night in bed, Alara lay with her head on Kalen's chest, listening to his slow, steady breaths. I picked their names, she whispered. Kalen shifted. Really? Tell me. Cyrus, Soren, and Dorian, she said. He repeated them. Cyrus, Soren, Dorian. They sound like strength, peace, and hope. He hugged her tighter. Then that's who they'll be, she said. Just before sleep came, Alara whispered again. Kalen? Yes? If you asked me again at the altar, I'd still say yes. He paused, then said softly, good, because I'd still ask. That night, a storm came. The wind howled against the glass. Lightning flashed, bright and sharp. Rain pounded the windows. Alara sat up in bed with a sudden gasp. It wasn't a dream. She felt a snap low in her stomach, followed by sudden warmth. Her water had broken. Her hand flew to her belly. A sharp cramp tore through her. Kalen, she gasped. He was already awake. He had been sleeping lightly for weeks, listening for her. By the time she spoke, he was out of bed, turning on the lamp. What is it? He asked quickly. My water just broke, she said, eyes wide. Kalen's face stayed calm, steady. He reached for his phone. I'm calling the doctor. Lie back and breathe. But panic rose in Alara's chest. No, wait, something's wrong. The contractions, they're too fast, too close together. Kalen's jaw tightened. He pressed the emergency call button that went straight to the estate's medical staff. Within minutes, everything was in motion. Rain hammered the ground as Kalen helped Alara to the SUV. She wore a cotton dress and robe, already soaked from the dash through the rain. Her hair stuck to her face. She clutched his hands so hard her knuckles turned white. Almost there, he murmured. I can't, she whispered. You already are, he said firmly. At the hospital, the bright lights stung her eyes. Nurses rushed her through the corridors while Kalen stayed close, never letting go. Her contractions came fast and sharp. There's no time to wait, the doctor said. She's already ready to deliver. But they're early, Alara cried. We're prepared. You're safe. the doctor said. Kaylin kissed her forehead. I'm not leaving this room, he whispered. Alara nodded through her tears. I'm scared. I'm right here, he said, gripping her hand tightly. The room filled with shouts and beeps. Alara screamed as pain tore through her. Then a cry, sharp and clear. The first baby is out, the nurse called. Alara cried, but there was no rest. Second baby is coming, the doctor said. She pushed again, teeth clenched. Another cry, but then silence. The third baby is breech, the doctor said urgently. Alara froze. The monitors spiked. Nurses moved quickly. The oxygen mask slipped from her face. What's happening? Kaylin demanded. The last baby is in distress, the doctor said. His heart rate is dropping. Alara sobbed. No, please, no. Kaylin grabbed her hand. Look at me, he said firmly. She turned, barely holding on. You're not going to lose him, Kaylin said, voice shaking. But what if I do, she cried. You won't. You've carried them this far. Just one more moment. Give him that. Alara nodded through the tears. The doctor worked quickly. The room went silent for one terrible second. Then, a cry. Louder than the others. Strong. Alive. Alara collapsed back against the pillows, sobbing. Kaylin held her hand tightly. You did it, he whispered, his voice breaking. You did it. 3 incubators stood ready. 3 tiny babies. Kaylin walked toward them, trembling. He placed his gloved hands gently over them. He whispered their names like a promise. Cyrus, Soren, Dorian. They're ours, he said to Alara, eyes wet. Later, Alara lay in her bed, weak and trembling. She felt empty, numb. Pain pressed through her body. Willa, her friend, entered softly. Hi, sweetheart, she said. Just checking on you. Alara blinked. How long has it been? 6 hours. You slept. That's good, Willa said. Where are they? Alara asked. In the NICU, but they're doing well. I haven't held them yet, Alara whispered. You will, Willa said gently. You're not weak, you're human. Alara cried. Why does it feel like I'm failing already? Because no one tells you how hard the beginning can be, Willa said kindly. In the corridor, Kaylin stood by the NICU window, staring at the 3 tiny babies. A nurse handed him a photo of them together. You can come in now, she said. Inside, he placed a finger in each baby's tiny hand. I'm here, he whispered. Later, Kaylin entered Alara's room with a photo of the babies. They're perfect, he said. She nodded. I haven't even seen them properly yet. You will today, he promised. Then he gave her something else. Her wedding ring. I kept it safe, he said. It's yours again. Alara cried as he slipped it back on her hand. Kaylin lay beside her carefully. You don't have to be strong, he whispered. I'll be strong for both of us. That evening, a nurse wheeled Alara to the NICU. She saw her babies, 3 tiny faces that belonged to her. When Cyrus was placed in her arms, something inside her broke wide open. Tears poured as love rushed through her chest. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't know how to love you through the fear. The baby made a small noise, and she knew he forgave her. At home, recovery was hard. Alara cried in the shower. She struggled with feeding and felt guilty when she had to bottle feed, but Kaylin never judged. He woke up at night for feedings, changed diapers, filmed their first sleepy smiles. Sometimes she found him asleep in the rocking chair, a baby on his chest. Her heart ached at the sight. She had never seen love like this. One night, Alara whispered, I never thanked you. You don't have to, Kaylin said gently. I do. I didn't marry you because I needed saving. I married you because deep down I believed you would show up. And you did. You're more than I ever dreamed. Later, when the babies were asleep, Alara stood in front of the mirror in a silk nightdress. Her body was different now, softer, scarred. But she didn't hide. Kaylin walked in and his breath caught. You're staring, she said. I'm trying not to blink, he answered. She crossed the room slowly. I need you tonight, she whispered. Not because I'm weak, but because I want to feel like me again. Not just a mother, your woman. You never stopped being that, Kaylin said softly. He lifted her gently into his arms and carried her to bed. He was tender, slow, showing her she was still beautiful. You're even more incredible now, he whispered against her skin. She touched his chest and his shoulders, feeling every line. You waited for me to come back, she whispered. I never left you, he answered. They held each other and moved slowly, carefully. It was not about fire this time. It was about feeling safe, about being where they belonged. She lay against his chest, their legs tangled together. Her heartbeat slowed. She didn't need to say anything, but she spoke anyway. I loved you the first night you held me without asking for anything. He looked down at her. You didn't say it then. I couldn't, she whispered. Now she pushed herself up on her elbow and looked him in the eye. I love you, she said. He smiled softly. I know. It all began with the sound of a helicopter. The loud chopping blades thundered above, too close to the estate. Kalen heard it first. He stood by the window, jaw tight, eyes narrowing at the dark shadow that crossed the private grounds. Within minutes, his head of security called. He's here, the man said, and he brought others. Kalen didn't flinch. Secure the area. I'll meet him myself. Alara was feeding little Soren when a knock shook the hallway like a warning. She opened the door just as Kalen came down the stairs, his face unreadable. Behind the glass stood Lysander, flanked by two men in black suits, a cameraman and a boom mic operator. It was a trick, a legal game, a media ambush. Alara froze, but Kalen stepped between her and the door. I'll handle this. The doors opened. Lysander walked into the foyer like he owned the house. He looked polished, camera-ready, but his angry eyes gave him away. You've gone too far, he spat. Keeping my children from me. You mean the children you told her to erase? Kalen said calmly. Lysander's lips twisted. They're mine. They became mine when you abandoned them. Alara stepped forward bravely. You're not welcome here. They're my sons. No, she said again, calm and clear. They're my sons and Kalen's. You made your choice the day you walked away from me in front of hundreds. Lysander turned to the cameras. She's lying. She hid the pregnancy. Alara didn't shout. She didn't cry. Instead, she looked right into the lens. And you told me to end the pregnancy on record. Should I show the message again? Lysander's face faltered. Kalen stepped forward, his voice like ice. This is private property. You are breaking the law. I have rights, Lysander argued. You had them, Kalen said. Then you gave them away for silence. Lysander's lawyer handed over a file. Emergency motion to revisit custody. Kalen looked at it and tore it in half. The cameras caught it all. This isn't your show anymore, Kalen said. Take your crew and leave. Lysander didn't move until Alara spoke again, her voice sharp now. You don't get to bully your way back into a family you threw away. This is your doing, Lysander growled. You seduced him for protection. No, Alara snapped. He protected me without asking for anything, something you never did. Lysander glared, then finally turned and left without another word. The security guards closed the doors behind him. Alara's hands trembled, but she stayed strong. Kalen cupped her face gently. You okay? I am now. The estate grew quiet again. No cameras, no helicopters, just the wind brushing through the olive trees and the soft coos of the triplets in the nursery. Later, Kalen stood on the terrace, phone to his ear, speaking with his lawyers. The court had seen the footage. Lysander's stunt had failed badly. He broke many parts of the restraining order, Kalen said calmly. We'll press charges. Quietly, Alara stepped outside. She wore a soft blue dress, the breeze lifting the hem. The heavy weight she had carried for months was gone. How bad was it? She asked. He won't be back, Kalen replied. Alara nodded and walked to the edge of the terrace to see the ocean view. For the first time in a long time, she whispered, I'm not afraid he'll come again. Kalen wrapped an arm around her waist. He won't. This place, this life, it's ours now. That afternoon, Alara baked. Her dress was dusted with flour, her hair tied in a loose knot. Kalen walked into the kitchen and stopped, surprised. I didn't know you could bake. You don't know everything about me yet, she smiled. She placed a tray of cinnamon muffins into the oven. You want to learn? Yes, he said quickly. Teach me." She dusted his hands with flour. He scowled playfully, and she laughed. For the first time since their wedding, they shared a moment free from fear. After dinner, they sat on the living room rug, surrounded by baby toys and blankets. Cyrus giggled first. Soren followed. Dorian sneezed, then blinked with wide eyes. Kalen somehow cradled two babies while Alara burped the third. Their laughter filled the room. "I used to think success was board meetings and big deals," Kalen murmured. "Now I think it's just this." Alara smiled and laid her head on his shoulder. "They'll grow up knowing love started with protection," she whispered. "No," Kalen said gently. "Love started when you chose not to walk away from yourself." That night, Alara stared at the ceiling while Kalen traced circles on her hip. "I'm still healing," she whispered. "Not just my body. I know. I don't always feel strong. You don't have to be. Just be honest." She turned toward him, eyes shiny with tears. "Do you ever think this happened too fast?" "I think life moved fast," he said, cupping her cheek. "But love didn't. Love waited until you could feel it without pain." A tear rolled down her face. He kissed it away. The next morning, Kalen updated the main gates, biometric systems, facial recognition, strong barriers. "Paranoid much?" Alara teased. "No," he said. "Prepared. You're mine. They're mine. And peace is something I'll fight to keep." The tide had fully turned. Online, comments poured in praising Alara's bravery. "She's grace under fire. Protect Alara and her boys." Kalen Thorne is the gold standard. Offers came for book deals and interviews. Alara turned them all down. "This isn't for headlines," she said. "This is my real life." Weeks passed. The triplets grew stronger. Kalen turned a study into a homeschooling room. Alara wrote poetry again. She wasn't waiting for the next blow anymore. She was living, building, loving. One evening, the beach was empty, except for their family. Soft music played. Candles glowed. Flower petals dotted the sand, leading to a white arch. The Pacific sparkled under the setting sun. Alara stood barefoot in an ivory dress. Her curls tumbled freely, and around her neck hung a gold chain with the initials of her sons. Behind her, the triplets played in the sand, their tuxedos already messy with joy. She turned as Kalen approached, barefoot too, shirt open at the collar. He held her gaze like he had waited forever for this moment. "You made it," he teased. "I'm the bride," she said. "You're lucky I didn't make you wait longer." He took her hands. "There's no priest this time," she whispered. "Good. I just want you to hear it from me." "No speeches. No notes," he said. "Alara, I married you the first time to protect you, to give you space until you could stand on your own. But you didn't just stand, you soared. You taught me what love means, what it costs, and I want to keep choosing you every morning, every night, forever." Her chest tightened as she blinked fast. "Kalen, that day at the altar, I thought my life was over. But you didn't just save me. You gave me back the pieces of myself I thought were lost. You loved me when I didn't even know myself. Now I see her. I see you, and I want this us every day for the rest of my life." Kalen pulled out a ring, the same one from before. He slid it onto her finger. "This time," he said, "we're not healing. We're just home." She smiled through her tears. "I'm already there." Their sons ran toward them. Cyrus clung to Alara's leg. Dorian tossed sand like confetti. Soren lifted his arms sleepily at Kalen. They scooped them up, laughing, crying, kissing their small foreheads. And somewhere between the waves, the wind, and the love between them, a new promise was made. Not just to survive, but to thrive. Together. If this story touched your heart, don't scroll away. Would you have said yes again? Would you forgive, trust, or walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you believe love can rise from heartbreak and healing is possible after betrayal, press the like button. Share this story with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Fiction of Peace for more stories that inspire and heal. Until next time, stay strong, love deeply, and never settle for less than you deserve.